Pirates weren't all about buried treasure and parrots on shoulders. They were some of the most barbaric, yet creative rebels on Earth. Today, here on Weird Rewind, we're diving into the brutal and bloody world of pirate punishment. Enjoy? Keel-hauling. Imagine being tied up, thrown overboard, and dragged under a ship. That's what pirates called keel-hauling. The victim would be bound in ways that would permit momentary gasps of air, while being dragged under the salty sea. This was to ensure the punishment lasted as long as possible. As the victim was pulled along the barnacle-covered hull, sharp shells would slice their skin open. If the jagged edges didn't get them, drowning often would. And for the unfortunate few who survived, their bodies would be so torn up that infection would set in almost immediately. And let's just say that healthcare at sea wasn't quite like it is today. Marooning. For pirates who broke the code or got on the wrong side of their captain, it was all about isolation. Marooning involved pulling close to a deserted island or sandbar and simply throwing the victim overboard, leaving them isolated on a small piece of land in the middle of the sea. Sometimes the victim would be left with just a flask of water and maybe a gun with a single bullet. This was the ultimate test of survival, where the choice was clear: die slowly of exposure, hunger, and thirst, or end it all quickly with a final shot. The classic walking the plank. It might sound like something straight out of a Hollywood movie, but pirates really did make people walk the plank. Bound and blindfolded, they'd take their final steps before tumbling into the ocean, left to drown or face whatever horrors lurked below. It was even reported that small groups of victims were tied together before taking those terrifying steps. Teamwork makes the dream work. The method was especially popular because it was a slow, entertaining, and harrowing way to go without leaving a bloody mess on deck. Gibbeting. Whether it be in video games or movies, you've probably seen the protagonist rocking up to a deserted island, only to see trees lined with hanging metal cages. A closer look would show these cages occupied by sadly slumped skeletons. Pirates loved sending a message, and nothing quite said beware like gibbeting. The poor soul would be locked in a cage, hoisted up high, and left to die of exposure, starvation, or even slowly pecked to death by carnivorous birds. Not the best way to go, but at least the view would have been nice from up there. The Spanish Tickler. Meet the Spanish Tickler, otherwise known as the cat's claw. This tool was anything but fun. Pirates would begin lightly and gradually apply more and more pressure, scraping the skin off their victims, ripping through the flesh and muscle as a form of slow and brutal punishment. Oftentimes, salty seawater was splashed on the open wounds for an extra tickle. As you can probably imagine, the pain was unbelievable, but it was all part of the pirates' psychological warfare. Finally, sweating torture. Sweating today comes from hard work, exercise activity, or other fun things. But back then, on the open seas, sweating had a different meaning entirely. Pirates would surround their bound target, waving red-hot iron pokers or heated-up swords, often jabbing and taunting as they circled. This method was less about causing physical harm than it was about breaking the victim's spirit. Knowing that at any moment they could turn up the heat to lethal was enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Pirates ruled the high seas with blood and terror, making sure everyone knew what happened to those who crossed them. These punishments weren't just brutal, they were designed to strike fear and keep everyone on their best or worst behavior. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. As always, keep questioning the past to understand the present. See you in the next rewind.